religion and religious feelings are, after all, primarily the feelings of wonderment and awe that are associated with our sense of community and our sense of social identity and our sense of group purpose in a social or civic way, as people getting together to defend ourselves, to raise families, to feed each other, to comfort each other. That's absolutely crucial for a society to survive. As societies get larger and larger, of course, each fragment of the society tends to find its own religious feelings, and what you see and what you have seen throughout history are different religious groups fighting and killing each other. But in each case, the small society does have its own benefit from their religious feelings. Science tends to speak to a much larger society, so one finds that atheists and Christians can get along and work together for scientific problems. Chinese, Confucians, and American Jews can work together. Muslims from Saudi Arabia on scientific questions. Those kinds of societies don't work together to solve community problems through religious reasons. They tend to fight and hate each other through religious beliefs. But through science, science operates at a larger societal level.
I do believe that there's a God and admit the possibility that, God exists. I do believe that there's a reason behind everything, and I do believe that there's cause and effect, and there's a primary cause, which is God, and everything that happens, it's for a reason. That's because it's because God wanted it to happen that way.
I don't believe that there is a God, personal or otherwise, and I don't admit the possibility that one might exist. I do acknowledge that many people believe there is a God, but people often believe in things like love or hate or hunger as if it existed outside of our own minds and, of course, in our own bodies, and of course it doesn't. Love is something we feel. God is something people feel. That doesn't mean it exists in any external sense.
Senses, are sometimes, they lead us to see something that's wrong. But in general, I am a science major. I believe in science. I believe in research. I want to be a researcher. So yeah, definitely, I do believe in science, and I think science is important.
Both realms are trying to discover a reality that we are not really aware of, but we're trying to get to that ultimate reality, and both science and religion are ways to get there. Do we really know, is religion right? Is science right? We keep showing that science, one day they'll prove this is true, the next day they'll prove that's true. There is no ultimate reality. And, in our search for it, I think you can see the similarities between the two realms. And I think that it's unfortunate that religion and science are often considered to be conflict, because I think both are necessary for the other to function.
There are random events that contributed to our being here, and at the same time there are many parts of the story of evolution of humans that we don't understand, that are still unknown. So there are unknown aspects, yes, and there are random aspects, yes. When you ask for an unknown reason, though, it often implies that there is a thoughtful, purposeful kind of reason that's out there existing in some fashion that we have yet to discover. I wouldn't say it's like that. It almost implies like it exists in some God's mind, and I don't think it's that way at all. The spherical shape of the earth was unknown for a while, for a long time, throughout most of time on earth, and of course now it is known. The nature of the atom, the very existence of the atom was unknown, and now a great deal about the nature of the atom is known. So there are things that are unknown, and often they become known. Whether they become known fully or not, it's probably not the case. There's always unknowns.
I cannot tell you what's going to happen in the future, but I think it's too much under some things that people just won't be, like the brain or intelligence, because we're very limited. We use our imagination, but then again, our imagination is just our senses, what we see, what we hear, or our memory of what we saw, what we heard. So we're just basically very limited. It's kind of sad to think about it that way, but we can do so many things. We can create, we can be very creative, and we can invent so many things, but there is a limit to all of this. But I guess we're doing good so far.
Human society has indicated a significant discovery and satisfaction to such questions as where does the earth fit in the universe? Where do people fit in the world of living organisms? Why do people feel revulsion at certain kinds of violations of societal norms? Unfortunately, religious groups tend to think those answers are provided by sacred texts, and even more importantly by charismatic religious leaders who read those texts often in their own way. Scientists tend to look to biopsychology and human evolution to answer those questions, but the questions do get answered, and there are many answers to them. The only question that really seems unanswerable is the question of meaning. What is the meaning of one's life? Various philosophers have tried to answer this, but turns out it's probably the wrong question. There is no meaning to one's life. There are feelings of satisfaction about one's life, or feelings of despair, or feelings of frustration, or feelings of joy. And as these feelings of purpose, if that's what meaning means, and feelings of joy and engagement and satisfaction, as they emerge during one's life, that is the meaning of their life. So to look for it in a more specific way that might be provided by a religious text, as in the meaning of life is to give praise to God, whatever the hell that means, that's never going to be answered, because there are no religious answers, interestingly enough. There's only kind of mantras that do, in their own way, provide feelings of comfort and satisfaction. They tend to lack kind of an intellectual rigor, but nonetheless, they make people feel good, and that's the source of meaning. So I think this idea of unknown, unanswerable questions is blown out of proportion. The unanswerable questions are really specific ones, like will humans ever travel to other planets? There's an unknown, unanswerable question right now. Certainly religion has nothing to say about that. Will science ever allow for a manipulation between related species like chimpanzees and humans? That's an unknown question that religion has nothing to say about, other than to say doesn't feel good, therefore it must be wrong. But it's an unknown question that only science is going to answer. Not currently, but eventually.